Hello and welcome to Happy Cells and Souls. My name is Julie Powers and I'm a licensed Zumba instructor and an affiliate with the Juice Plus Company. And my missions in life are to inspire healthy living around the world and to help people understand that life is better when they're dancing through it. But my expanded mission is to create better health at the cellular level and more joy at the cellular level, because we only get one body while we're here. And so we better be joyful and happy and spread a little light and love into this world. And so I consider myself very fortunate to have met so many people throughout my life, all of them bringing all kinds of stories into the world. And if we keep our hearts and our minds open, we can learn from everyone because everybody has a story to share. And there are people that impact the world in positive ways. And one of those people is my friend Melanie Montgomery, who has sort of fallen into the role of being in charge of our community garden here in Farmington, Missouri. And so, Melanie, I just want to talk with you about this whole concept of community gardening because it is really taking off all across the country in vacant lots and different spaces in small towns and urban areas. And I'd love to talk about how this came about in Farmington, Missouri, and some of the benefits to community gardening and how you got involved with it. So let's go back to 2015, which is when it was first starting to grow, right? And you were involved with some fundraisers at the onset, and then you sort of got rolled right into the leadership role. So can you tell us a little bit about how this came about in Farmington?
Well, I got involved in it with the fundraising part of it. I had a friend who was really organizing it, I guess. Basically, she drew the plans for it and went to the city. And I assume, I wasn't really involved in going to the city for it or anything. There was a vacant lot across the street from the house where she lived. And, they wanted to put a community garden there. And she was a very avid gardener. And they needed help with this fundraiser. And so I said that I would, help them generate some funds for it. So she was not from here, and I know a lot of people in town. So I helped kind of generate some money through the different businesses and organizations that we have. We had a huge hog roast, and we made all of the money that we needed to put all the in-ground irrigation, to buy all the supplies. Like, it was quite a bit of money, and the community really came together and supported it. So that's how it kind of began.
You know what? You just said something I didn't realize. I was wondering about the irrigation, and I didn't realize it had in-ground irrigation, and I was going to talk to you about that. So that's fascinating that is something that the people who are actually growing there don't have to worry about watering it, because I wondered how they were going to do that.
Right. I mean, that's a huge asset, and that's a big selling point for people whenever they join, because we have a lot of elderly people also who, knee and back problems, people who have heart conditions. It's hard for them to carry a bucket of water, and harder to lug around a 100-foot hose, which is what it takes to reach to one end of the garden or the other. So, so the in-ground irrigation is automatically timed. So it just comes on whenever we tell it to, so yeah, that was like a huge thing for us to get that.
That is really, really good to know. Okay, so we know that community gardens are very different in each community. Some of them are on rooftops, some of them are in large acreage, and this is just a small plot of land at an intersection in Farmington. But you guys have built 42 different individual gardening plots, right?
Yeah, each plot is 4x8, and there's 42 of those, and then there's also 8 children's garden beds. And there's fruit trees. There's pear, apple, and peach trees there. There's a blueberry hedge. There's a raspberry hedge also. It's a small plot of land, but we're really trying to utilize every bit of it. And so,
right. And so individuals and families actually rent a garden for a year's time, correct?
Yeah, it's $12 a year, which makes it $1 a month, which is still super cheap.
Right.
So yeah, $12 a year, and they can plant whatever they want. I mean, some people only plant flowers. Some people only plant herbs. Most plant vegetables, lots of tomatoes.
Right.
Um, yeah. Um, I would like to have an asparagus bed. I'm waiting for somebody to plant some asparagus, but nobody's done that yet. So,
So have
yeah.
you found that the people who are planting and coming and caring for their gardening areas, are they able to reap what they sow, or do other people take some of the things from their garden? I mean, how does that work? Because you can't really like police
Uh,
who comes into that space, right?
we don't. Um, it's open, and the public often does walk through and pick stuff. Everybody who's a member of the garden pretty much knows the rules. Like, that like you don't pick out of other people's beds. And really, like, we're all so tight knit, I guess, that we're sharing with each other anyway.
Sure.
So we know it's like, oh, I've got like, 12 cucumbers that need to be picked. If anybody wants these, come pick them. Like on work days, everybody's picking and sharing. But then, through the week, whenever, a lot of people are at work and they're not there, like I have been told many times that people are coming through with like Walmart bags picking stuff.
Mm.
So, on one hand, it's kind of like, if somebody needs it, then they can have it. You know what I mean? It's a community garden. But on the other hand, if you have somebody who has nurtured these like 8 wonderful broccoli plants, we had a broccoli incident one year. And I mean, we were all watching this because broccoli is really hard to keep the pests off of. Your brassicas are really hard to have that. You're constantly picking like the bugs off of it,
Mm-hmm.
and they're prone to getting like disease also. So this one member had these beautiful heads of broccoli, and I mean, we were just like looking at them with like the dew on them, and they were just beautiful. And the weekend that he was going to come and pick them, somebody came and just sawed them all off and took them.
Oh my
And
gosh.
and it was like just terrible. It was
Tragic.
terrible. He was so I'm like, I can't say, I'm lost for words. It was so bad. He was very upset. And so whenever somebody invests, the gardening is cheap. The $12 a year is cheap. But when somebody invests money in growing something like that from seed, or they buy a plant, the plants are not cheap anymore. They're pretty expensive now. That's a loss of investment. It's a loss of time
Sure.
and effort. And so we are in planning to possibly put a fence up. So that's a project.
Yeah, that would take a lot of fundraising. But I'm wondering, just the
It
benefit of
will.
the doubt, I'm just going to grant some grace, because there may be individuals that don't realize what the community garden is, and they might not realize that people pay for that, and individuals are the ones that are, caring for it. They might just think, well, how nice of people to grow this stuff for us out here in the public area. Let me go and get some of that fresh.
I know. It's true. And I mean, the name community garden makes you think immediately,
Right.
like, for everybody. But I mean, we could have any kind of name on there. It wouldn't matter. Like,
Sure.
people have suggested, why don't you change the name to something else? So I'm like, the name could be "Don't Pick This," and they would still pick it. It doesn't matter.
Right.
I mean, I wouldn't want to like close it off so that it wouldn't be totally inaccessible. But I feel like, seeing a fence around something just sort of,
Makes
it
it
looks like
a
you're
little
not.
more like, okay, this is someone else's stuff. I should probably respect that, and let them have the benefit of what they've grown.
Yeah, we've tried signage. I mean, we have like 3 huge signs there that have the rules and like not to pick anything. People have put signs up in their plots, even, to sort of mark them and say, this is my property, please don't pick anything out of it. And it really doesn't help.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um,
The
so
one good thing about this, Melanie,
I
is that
know.
the people that are growing tend to be people that understand that growing fresh food is important, and being
Yes.
connected to the earth is important, and sharing that there is enough for everyone. There is enough for everyone if we would just allow it to be for everyone. But
Right.
of course, I mean, there are rules around that. So
But yeah, there has to be, speaking of like there had being enough for everybody. We donated like 500 pounds of produce to the senior center this year
That's
in
great.
partnership with the 4-H club here in town. And that's a lot. So there is definitely enough to go around.
Sure,
You
sure.
know, definitely.
And you had mentioned before I hit the record button that the plots that are not rented by individuals or by families, organizations, or businesses can sponsor that. And then people just plant stuff that does get donated or used for things for the community and not just for an individual family. So that's amazing.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I know that every community garden is set up a little bit differently, but what have you found to be, besides growing food that is fresh and ripe and a lot more nutrient dense and a lot better for us,
Yeah.
and the fact that we're doing good things with the earth that we have and not just overtaking it with a parking lot or some, whatever, pave paradise and put up a parking lot. But what are you seeing as the benefits of this in terms of the people that are involved?
Community coming together. And I mean, I know that sounds so simple, but I'm like a huge people watcher, so whenever I'm there on the work days working with everybody, I love seeing the different demographics of people coming together while we're there. I kind of know everybody's background because when you meet somebody as a membership, you kind of get a little idea of like who they are. Ask questions like, well, what do you do? And where do you go to church? Or have any kids? Like all that kind of stuff. I get to know that a little better than like new members coming in who are just meeting people for the first time. Like they're showing up for a work day, they really don't know anybody. It's nice to watch them kind of get involved with each other and not realize like some of the maybe differences that I know about. That they're working in partnership to solve a problem together. They're working to like fix this particular irrigation line in a bed, and they're working together to do that. I like seeing that. You know what I mean? I like seeing that sort of fabric come together with the
Right.
different people. So I enjoy that a lot. I enjoy seeing a lot of older members. Like there's a couple of master gardeners that have come and just volunteered their time helping out at the garden, and they'll go over and spend some time with like somebody's children who they brought for the day, just to kind of help out. And I like seeing that,
Well,
everybody
you
just
know
kind
what?
of,
I think that cannot be stated importantly enough. The whole community
yeah,
factor, because we were so isolated for a couple of years there. And
yeah,
I think that the people who need people really suffered. And the people who didn't realize that they needed people suffered without even realizing it. And I know
yeah,
I'm not being very clear about my communication, but we are meant to be in community. We are
yeah,
not meant to go through this earthly existence isolated and, little hermits, right?
right.
You may have
Um,
people that have that tendency to be introverted and be by themselves more often than not, but there has to be some connecting point. And like you said, gardening is something that can connect people of all different backgrounds. And
right.
it's like that thing where you have a giant room of people and you separate them like, okay, are you male? Are you female? And everybody separates into their groups. They don't
Mhm.
know what the differences are or what the similarities are in the male or female, but now they're a separate group. Then you
Right.
have, these people are from the north, these people are from the south, and then you have a different, but you start doing all these things and people are mixing and matching, and they find that there are a lot more similarities than you would ever consider just by
Right.
saying black, white, Democrat, Republican, Christian, Jew. I mean, like there's a lot of different things that people will just draw lines and say, that's not me, but it is you, because
That's exactly.
we are all the same here on earth if we would just recognize these connecting points, and growing things fresh is definitely one of those connecting points.
Yeah. And I mean, even like whenever you start gardening, like a lot of times people don't, they think it's like super hard. All it is just putting a seed in the ground. That's as simple as it is. It's not that hard. Um, but then you start learning like the interconnectedness of a lot of other things, like of the bugs and the microbes and the things that are in the soil that help that plant grow and like help us also. And you know, like the pests in the garden, like actually we need those also. We need the beneficial and the bad at the same time. And so people, it starts connecting that like everything is a web and it's all connected, and we're part of that also. So it's kind of mind opening whenever a lot of people get into gardening to kind of learn that web of life, I guess, basically also. And we're definitely part of that, and it should be for the betterment of the world and not.
Absolutely. Now, the people who know me know that I'm not an outdoorsy, dig in the dirt kind of girl. So my gardening, my gardening is done on an aeroponic vertical tower inside 6 feet away from my desk. And there's no dirt involved, which is what works for me, but I'm growing fresh food year round. But the people that love to dig in the dirt, the people that I love the smell of the dirt. I just want to get it under my fingernails. That's really important. And, you know, like our farmers who are out there, our small family farms, our medium family farms, instead of these giant corporate conglomerates that are spraying who knows what onto the food that has pretty much poisoned our land. You guys at our community garden here in town have kind of a rule in place where they can't use pesticides and herbicides. It's supposed to be all natural gardening practices, right? So that nothing is going to damage someone else's garden with chemicals. I mean, it's not necessarily all organic and, you know, very strict, but you have these rules so that everybody stays safe, right?
Yeah. We can't really call ourselves an organic garden, you know, but we are a natural practice garden. And so there's a list, the OMRI list. Are you familiar with that? Like the organic material? Okay. Anything that has like their seal on it is fine to use, or you can look this list up. There's different types of the list on their website that you can look up. And so anything that's on that you can use. You know,
and surprisingly, there are things locally available, like at our hardware stores and different places, and you know, stores that do have that OMRI symbol on it, so that you know that
it does.
But it's also not that hard to make things at home with neem oil and different things that will keep bugs away, or planting certain flowers or other plants will help deter some of the pests that will be attracted to whatever else that you're growing. Even though I don't grow in the dirt, I know some of the rules.
You know some things. Okay.
I know a few things because, you know, growing is growing. And so I don't know that we can stress enough how important it is to eat fresh food that has not been destroyed by, you know, being picked before it's ripe, being shipped thousands of miles away, being irradiated and sprayed and stuck in a grocery store and then turned brown in our produce drawers. So there's something so important about having that nutrient density in what you're growing. And I think that the people that you have involved with the garden recognize that, and they're investing their time in order to have that benefit.
Totally. I mean, you definitely want to try to eat organic as much as you can. I mean, having fresh fruits and vegetables is important, but I mean, and I know that you know this, that like trying to eat organically without like all the chemicals just do so much to our bodies that a lot of people don't know it, don't make the connection.
Right.
And a lot of the diseases that we have going on right now, like adrenal and glandular burnout, like your hormone related cancers and disorders and stuff, are really all can link back to those chemicals that disrupt our endocrine system and everything. So it's very important to try to just eat organic as much as you can. And if you can't have everything, like, you know, eat from like, you know, the cleanest ones that you can.
Sure. And growing your own is the best.
Well, yes, growing your own, definitely.
So when this video gets posted and published, it will be winter time. And that is still a good time to start thinking about and planning ahead and planting your seeds. And we have like 1 minute left here of our 20 minutes, so it goes by quickly. But it's the time to start planning it out. And if somebody's interested in our particular community garden here, what would you recommend that they do to contact you? Would it be the Facebook page that's for our Farmington Community Garden, which is no Facebook group, and they just need to join the group and then have the information there? They can message you, or would they go to the Farmington Parks and Recreation website, like through the Farmington Civic Center? And you said there's an application there, and I'll include the information in the text here. Is there anything else that you'd like to mention in this last 30 seconds?
Not really. I mean, I think we've covered everything, you know. I mean, the best way to learn though is to just get your hands dirty.
Well, and so right now, as of this time that we're recording this, how many empty spaces would you say might be available for spring of 2023?
So there's 42. I mean, I would say it's kind of like a reset every year. So I would say half.
Okay. So there's ample opportunity. There's ample opportunity. First come, first serve kind of thing, right?
Well, the current members get first choice. So if they have beds that they've already had stuff planted that they're overwintering, or, you know, sometimes, you know, the weather's been so nice, really, like they're still growing stuff, some of them. So, yeah, but we make room. I mean, you know, there's room. There's definitely room. So
fabulous. Thank you so much, Melanie, for taking time out to tell us a little bit about it.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you for the opportunity to do this, and thank you for just being you.
Thank you.
You're an inspiration also. So
thanks.